So I just got out of my local theatre to see the finale to the Amazing Digital Circus, and God, it was so hard not to hold back tears on this one. First of all, let me explain my quick brain dump thoughts. So just to get out there, solid 9 out of 10. In short words, very satisfying conclusion. It's very conclusive with a very satisfying ending to the whole series. It brings back a lot of scenes from previous episodes with a lot of emotional story beats and adds a whole personal side that really concludes its wonderful cast of characters. Beautifully written narrative which really made this an absolute joy to experience in the cinema. Before we continue, did I spend $300 to get a fucking Ribbit plushie? You don't need to do that. After the film, I had a long drive back and forth to really think about the film, and there was something I realized about this episode. It followed a very specific theme during and after my watch, and that's forgiveness. There are a lot of scenes within the film that explore this specific theme. Now, forgiveness is a typical theme to have in finales. It's a chance to put a closure to characters in the show to tie up loose ends before ultimately ending it, and the Amazing Digital Circus does the same here, but in such a rich, deep and personal way, in a way that really impacted me. This last episode is gut-wrenchingly sad, with a realization of self, ending with a bittersweet of acceptance. It delves into the act of how past mistakes and the consequences of ourselves, and how that can affect us as a person, on a mental, emotional and even physical level, how we reflect on a personal level, how we can prevail by being there for and with one another, and lastly the importance of forgiveness itself. So let's draw the curtain on this digital world one final time, shall we? This video will be focused on two main points with a third smaller point that's just more overall reassurance. So I'll go over that one first before tackling the two examples I really want to talk about. During the beginning of episode 9, we catch up right after the end of episode 8, with Caine explaining how he accidentally deleted Caine, and everyone, while understanding the consequences of this, they don't lash out at Caine, knowing it was just a mistake, besides Jack, of course, who crashes out and honestly looked very similar to that one fan animation. It's similar to episode 8, where even though they're met with the inevitable, they still have to be there for one another. Obviously, it's more of a bigger deal in this episode because not only was that probably the best effort to get out of the circus once and for all, but we later learned that they were never meant to leave this place, as Caine explains to the group.
Brain scans. Scratch was trying to make a brain scanner. We didn't know how to work with the files, and they were impossibly small, given what they were supposed to be. I saw a folder full of them when I was in Caine's code. I guess Caine found a way to get them working.
They're not their original selves, but merely copies of people they once were, which meant no matter what they did, what they do, what they've went through, no matter how many years, no matter how many abstractions, they could do nothing. They're not people trapped in a machine. They're a part of it. It's impossible to ever escape because they are nothing out there. They physically can't go out there. They're merely files floating in this now desolated world. They all start to break down. Jack's throwing insults as everyone comes to the inevitability before walking off themselves.
I know. I think I've always known.
As the group separates one by one, we're left with Pomni, who goes over to Caine. Caine being more accepting of his fate than the rest. Caine starts to create shapes with his conjuring theory. Pomni sees this and Caine shows her. They start out with basic shapes that fall into the void, until they conjure up a square tile to cover up the exposed floors. Pomni and Caine have a scene, reminiscent of episode 3. Pomni in short breaks down, not knowing what to do anymore, saying that if she did things differently, the plan may have actually succeeded. She beats herself up about it and blames everything on her, with Caine reassuring her and being more on the side that
none of this is your fault. I don't think anyone could have predicted things to play out the way they did.
Caine remarks on Pomni's journey, relaying how everyone took weeks, months to adjust to this world, their new lives, while Pomni seemed to fit in only a few days. The scene really shed light on what Pomni's character was ultimately which I'll touch on in a bit. But after that, Caine and Pomni start to accept that this is what they have, and they start to rebuild a new home. They slowly come together, first with Pomni and Caine, then with Raghafa joining the two, and shortly followed by Zooble and Gangle, as they slowly get together to rebuild the circus, with each scene showing Jax in the background, or sometimes foreground off to the side, soon leaving each scene.
Never mind.
Until Jax ultimately backs away, and the scene right after this,
I somehow forgot how bad it can get.
we see an abstraction. Now, during my first watch, I thought since Caine was gone, the abstractions would be set free, roaming the circus freely, but later learned that that abstraction is Jax. No warning, no major scene, just one scene, Jax there, next, Jax not. It creates this very striking moment that Jax finally, after all the torment we've seen in the glimpses, all the times their facade broke, that overwhelming anxiety and Jax constantly pushing themselves away from the others, like a real connection, Jax ultimately succumbs to abstraction. And I think the sudden cut to the abstraction really shows the real nature of one going through such things. It's heartbreaking. One moment they're fine, the next they're gone. We see an overhead view shot of Pomni, Raghafa and Zooble seeing Jax's abstracted form. They all respond in various ways, seeing how Jax is finally gone. They react in a way I feel like reflects their relationship with Jax. Zooble gets mad and storms off, saying that it's such a Jax thing to do. Raghafa breaking down in tears, reflecting on how Raghafa was always so emotional towards Jax, and Pomni being rather silent, reflecting on how Pomni was putting up with Jax's behavior, and yet still pushing through, and when she got to know them more personally, her silence, I saw as a way to let Jax process their emotions, to give Jax an actual space to speak, but now that's gone. After that reveal, we have a scene that focuses on Pomni and Raghafa, which I could only define as the pinnacle of their relationship. One of the last times they open up, and during the scene, Raghafa recounts her memories with Jax, and most importantly, the relationship between Jax and Ribbit, a character which impacted Jax in a very big way. And during the time Ribbit abstracted, Raghafa offered to comfort Jax during this extremely difficult time, and yet she was told to never speak of Ribbit again, never getting the time to actually grieve her friend, shutting that opportunity to open and shattering their friendship indefinitely. And Raghafa blames herself for something she isn't even in the wrong about. But as we've seen during the entire series, Raghafa has tried desperately to reach out to Jax.
I know it's hard. Just don't be afraid to reach out to me.
And she opens up to Pomni, telling herself that maybe she's the reason Jax is the way they are, that everyone she meets in this circus, no matter how hard she tries, something ends up happening to them, and they leave her. We see her constantly pushing to change people in attempts to help, but she ultimately is fed to the short end of the stick. The more Raghafa tries, the more distant her friends become. Pomni throughout the entire series, and specifically in this scene, acts as an anchor, willing to reach out no matter who that is or how far it is to reach them. It's why we don't get much insight of her life beforehand. She's unaffected by her past, unlike characters like Raghafa or Jax. Getting back on topic, we get the cute scene reminiscent of the first episode, with Raghafa being the one to show Pomni around the circus. Now comes to here, with Pomni saying that despite everything, Pomni still sees Raghafa as her closest friend in the circus.
You were the first real friend I made here. And despite all that's happened, I still consider you my closest friend.
Breaking Raghafa's doubts, and reassuring her that she's doing good. She has been doing good. She's been doing the right thing. She is enough. They embrace and they go about their time. Most of the start is the crew getting back together, slowly rebuilding the circus to their fitting and supporting each other in this very desperate time. And that concludes what I want to go over in the first segment. This surface level does a great job finishing off character arcs and helps support them in their stories going forward, what all good finales should do. Now, if you've seen the finale, and honestly, if you're watching this, you probably have, but I'm gonna skip forward for this next segment. I just feel like the one I really want to talk about is the real show of this theme, and there's a lot more to discuss there. So, for now, I'm going to talk about Caine. During the later half of the finale, we meet up again with our favorite AI circus ringmaster, and for the first time, we actually get to spend some personal time with him and his thoughts after his deletion. He spawns in the void, one he's all too familiar with, and one thing I love about this scene is that Caine's first ever response to this wasn't frustration and anger. He was almost silent upon his realization. Of course, he snaps in and out of frustration here and there, but that's just that. A snap, a split, a mood swing and doubt. His more vulnerable and judgmental self, what Caine really wants in this scene, what he truly come to realize, is understanding. And one thing I really love about this scene is that there's barely any dialogue. It's more just taking in the scene, working with Caine and his journey to fully understand. He remarks on why they deleted him, but he doesn't blame them. Caine comes around to it and understands why they did it, why they had that reaction. Caine discovers empathy and this desire to understand more, to become something more. Caine having all this immense power, the ability to conjure anything with a snap of his fingers. Once all of that is taken away, he understands what it's like to be at their level, to be more human, and he just doesn't spite it. He doesn't rile up in anger, crashing out. He just sits there on his own, almost like he accepts it. He understands now, at least, more so than when he was at the circus. One thing I love about this scene is that it almost mirrors the first episode. Pomni enters up in this new place. She has no idea what to do. She tries to escape by any means necessary, with Caine acting as this ringmaster role model in charge of the circus. But then we got to this. Caine wakes up in this new place. He has no idea what to do because he can't really do anything out here, with Pomni back at the circus acting as the anchor to rebuild it. Both of them have red doors. The only difference is that Pomni, while hesitant, ultimately learned to live in this new world, while Caine got too comfortable in his world. So when he's finally out, he wants to return to it. And he tries. As he sees the door, Caine flies over to it. Each time he gets closer, the further the door seems to be. Caine is actively fighting to return. He wants to be better, he wants to fix things, he wants that change, because in the first time in his digital life, he finally understands. The scene really makes Caine more and more human as it progresses, and I think that was the entire point. When he gets closer, it's almost like he loses that godlike facade and power as he flies, but then he crashes down, only for him to get back up and run for it, using his legs, actively pushing himself more and more until he comes to the standby, a giant cliff at the end of the void. He drops a conjured up item in there, as you would expect. It falls endlessly, but he tries again, and surprisingly, a shape sticks. As he tries to create this stairway up to the door, every shape afterwards falls from the first, until he switches the shape. Same thing happens to the second, until he tries a new one. I see this as Caine actively changing. For these 8 episodes, he was always doing the same thing, and that ultimately ruined him. So he tries something new, and with each shape he gets closer and closer to the door. The red dot we've seen him in his AI form slowly becomes more and more human, showing his understanding and willing to change every single step. He comes into contact with the invisible wall until he uses his power, what's left of it, to shatter it open, again and again. He's wanting to fight for this. He wants this second chance to understand fully and right his wrongs, until he opens the door to a browser, an open browser, and also some codes or names. Names of people. Names of people that belonged to his circus. These were the names of the characters. Pomni, Ragapher, Gangle, Zoober, Kinga, and Jax. There's also Scrap. And whatever was in that folder probably had all the other names of everyone who's ever come into contact with this circus. And with these names, he finds people. The exact people out there. He finds the people whose brain scans got turned into all these participants, his friends. Suddenly Caine loses access to the console, but now he has a better understanding of not only who these people are, but he better understands them. Humans.
They're from a world so much bigger than mine. I'm keeping them locked in a cage. They had their fun out there. It's my turn now. If I leave them unchecked, they could kill me. They already did.
With this, he ventures out further into the void, making his way back, and with this, Caine decides to make the biggest decision of his character. He gives up his other half, one that was used to replace Caine, now drifting forever in a strand of endless binary and lights. Giving up what made him so powerful in the first place, limiting himself, becoming more like them. The only thing he has to do now is confront them. He probably isn't sure if they'd actually work. All things he's done and what he's put these people through, are they really going to forgive him just like that? Will they resent him? There's no clear way of telling. If only he'd understood them sooner, maybe he would have done it sooner. But only when everything was taken away from him did he finally understand. Before he makes it into the circus, the moon stops him as they conversate. There's this one line that really hit it for me, and to me, it also impacted Caine. The moon starts talking to Caine, with Caine expressing whether or not he's ready to face them, with the moon then giving Caine some reassurance.
It may take time, but all good things do. I still love you.
You know, I never programmed you to say you loved me.
I know.
Something like this, I feel like only fits after this realization and understanding. The spirit of something as simple as, I love you, stuns him. He questions the logistics of the moon saying that. Caine in this finale not only understands how humans think, but how they can feel as well. Also, I find it kind of sweet that the moon in particular is voiced by Gooseworks herself, so from the moon's perspective, it's like it's watching this world from afar. I just find it really sweet. After this scene, Caine floats in, with the gang obviously shocked. What's really funny is that to get to see all their reactions, Gangle looks at Caine while Zooble holds her arm out in front of her. Kinga and Ragapher showing signs of shock, while Pomni sits there, wanting to confront him. With Caine opening up and apologizing, Zooble adding on to that if he's being serious, then it's going to take a long time for them to trust him again. Caine fully understanding the sentiment. Now Caine does something near the end to more fully show the group that the new perspective and the way to be transparent, but I'll return to that during the end of this video. The only thing I don't like about this is the fact that after Caine literally torturing them in the last episode, they were so quick to just forgive him. I have no idea why. I feel like it would have been more impactful if they at least gave him more time, but it seems kind of forced in a way. But I'm not here to critique or put judgment on this episode. I'm just here to explore the themes of something I love. Now, moving on to the final topic I want to discuss before wrapping up in this finale. I've been saving this till the last for a very good reason. This segment I felt like was the most personal and heavy use of this theme, in both terms of not giving ourselves that freedom of forgiving ourselves because we feel like we don't deserve it, and the importance of despite everything, everyone deserves forgiveness. This episode is really focused on Jax, the really last character whose story hasn't been shown to its fullest extent. And while every episode either focuses on a character or we get tidbits of lore here and there, examples with Gangle in episode 4 and Kinga in episode 3, this episode takes it to a whole other level. Most of the runtime is about Jax, and about Jax's unfortunately very heavy past. There's a lot I want to unpack here, so let's start from the beginning and work our way there. So to begin, Pomni, funnily enough, with a gun, a clear reference and connection point to episode 7, where we got to see the most of Jax until this point, and was a significant episode in Jax and Pomni's relationship. Pomni shoots out all the lights, calming the abstracted Jax down, and once she gets closer, she almost enters Jax's mind, or at least a perceived version of it. Pomni sees a bunch of doors with Jax's face on it, and throughout each of these doors we get to see the different sides of Jax. And what's interesting is that in these scenarios, all of Jax's are depicted alongside a character's abstraction. First one we see is Ragatha abstracting over a perceived image of Pomni in Jax's mind, pushing him that everything will be alright. She can fix Jax, she's the only one who can. This leads to Jax strangling her, while Jax's eyes widen with a smile, until Jax breaks loose and tells Pomni a funny,
"What? We can't die from oxygen deprivation, remember?"
This is what I like to call unhinged Jax. This side of Jax is one which is out of touch with emotions, not really thinking. We've seen this whenever Jax reverts back to that facade of being a cartoon character, a side of themselves devoid of, well, themselves. The second door is where we see what happens when Zooble abstracts, and Jax comes in wearing a maid outfit, poking fun at Zooble and being extremely sarcastic, which is why I'm lazily calling this one Sarcastic Jax. This side is irony. Everything is for the bits. Jax literally does not care, which I find funny because this is their reaction to Zooble abstracting, because Zooble out of everyone was the only one who actually stood up to Jax's behavior and sometimes got the better of Jax, and so there's no one to stand up to Jax. Jax here is a loose cannon, while raging in irony has the subtle hint of attention seeking. Third one is what I'll literally call the funny one. This is Jax as a full-on wacky cartoon, seeing everything as more of a game than anything else. I see this as Jax avoiding their actions, seeing everyone as a cartoon character. They're just moving pictures on the screen. They're not real, they don't have feelings, and this is the one where Gangle abstracts, and with Zooble being the most harsh on Jax, with Jax being a literal abuser to her, devoids themselves with any responsibility, almost shutting any signs of guilt aside. There's also another door that we never see, all locked up, and this is what I believe happens when Pomni abstracts, and I feel like it's the worst case scenario. We come to the final room, where all previous versions of Jax sit around a table having a good old Jax time, but there's something else. A Jax to the side of the room playing a piano. Next to that Jax is another door.
Do any of you have a key to this door?
Nope. And even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. You women need to learn to quit prying all the time. Wow. I hope that doesn't also happen to me.
With every one of them dissipating into dust, with the only one on the piano holding a key out to Pomni. But this Jax is reluctant, scared. As the camera pans down, we see Jax is chained up to the piano, trapped. I see this as Jax's emotional side, vulnerable Jax, one who's locked up within their own mind, too afraid to speak up and rather plays in the background while the other take the center stage. It's an offering Jax, it's a careful Jax, it's also a scared Jax. This one, too, disappears. After this, we are shown a multitude of scenes that play back to back, showing us Jax's POV, the real Jax's past life, and the life Jax has in the digital circus. We start out with Jax freaking out, wondering what this place is, then ultimately coming to its conditions, with the help of a character who has closely accompanied Jax, Ribbit. We see flashbacks of Jax, Ribbit, and even Cosmo sharing memories together, having fun. And we see Jax like we haven't really seen before. We see them in a cafeteria, stargazing, and we come to the scene with Ribbit and Jax resting in Ribbit's room after the adventure. Once they settle down, they open up to one another.
Have you ever done something that you regret?
A very open-ended question that can lead someone very vulnerable, or stressed depending on how it's handled. Understandably so, Jax is first hesitant to open up, specifically something you did out there that you regret, that you can no longer fix out there. Ribbit opens up saying that she moved away from her parents, their differences led them to be separated, although she still wants to see them again. Jax, in a very Jax way, says,
Is this your way of trying to get me to open up?
It's my way of letting you know I trust you.
Jax opens up about their life, about being homeless, but eventually opens up a little bit more. Jax explained their weird relationship with their parents. Jax's parents split up before Jax went into high school. Jax's relationship with their father was very distant. He was there, but he never really made an attempt with Jax. Jax always felt like a disappointment to him, never lived up to his standards. This scene, we've only been seeing Jax's POV, but this is where that changes, with the camera now pointing towards Jax as they explain their relationship with their mother. Jax's mother changed after her divorce, leading Jax to be emotionally abused by their mother, the divorce weighing on Jax's shoulder, with Jax's mother always biting back at them. Jax explains about something one day. Jax, being fed up with everything, went to talk to their mother, something described as deep and personal to Jax, only resulting in her laughing at Jax, followed by degrading insults that went on, being downright verbally abusive to Jax. Even after all that, Jax's mother hugged them, Jax expressing their distaste in that decision, telling Ribbit how uncomfortable and confusing it was, so Jax panicked. With all that was rushing through their head, Jax pushing their mother over, and when she fell, she didn't get back up. Jax, in their eyes, believed they just were responsible for the death of their mother, but even Jax hesitates, saying that maybe she was trying to make them feel bad. That alone showed that their mother was known for these kind of manipulation, guilt-tripping, abusive behavior. Jax, with that uncertainty, never found out if their mother actually died on that day, because the next thing Jax did was run away, and that's the last time Jax saw them. Ribbit, after hearing all of that, tries reassuring Jax that she's probably fine. Everything must have been fine. Jax, in a panic for oversharing, tries to leave, but Ribbit grabs them, with Jax looking at her.
I'm sorry. I definitely overshared.
Wait. I'm glad you trust me.
Shit. This is embarrassing.
Jax then starts to break down. After that personal baggage, the thing with Jax and their upbringing is that Jax never had the chance to be heard, to open up, to be vulnerable. That's why Jax usually shuts those emotions out, further explain why vulnerable Jax was chained up in the first place. Jax sits down with Ribbit taking off her bow and placing it on Jax's head, saying,
Your secret's safe with me.
Yeah? I mean, now's not a good time. Or now's fine. What do you want?
After being so vulnerable and being interrupted like that, Jax leaves with a lot of emotions going through their head. then stares back at Ribbit and explains that,
Alright, so if you ever tell anyone about this, I'm never speaking to you again. Sound good?
Yeah, I won't.
Awesome, bye! Why am I such an idiot? Why am I such an idiot? Why am I such an idiot?
The next few scenes we see the disconnect in Jax and Ribbit's relationship, Jax putting on more of the facade and distancing themselves over and over and over again, until this scene in a snowy world where Ribbit confronts Jack wanting to talk with Jax, scolding her with Ribbit trying everything to reach out.
I did. Whatever's going on between us, can we just stop this? I miss talking to you.
We're here. We're talking. What else do you want from me?
I just want to be friends again.
What? So you can pry into my personal life and hold it over my head?
Is that really what you think? This can't be what you want!
What? Because you know me so well! Because we're such super close best friends, so we know everything about each other!
We were great friends, and I'm
Oh
sorry
my
for
God!
crying, but I don't want this one stupid mistake to be the thing that ends
Here
all
we
of this!
go! Why are you still fixated on that night? Nothing happened! You keep reading into things when there's nothing there! You're the one using me! You're manipulating me and
It cuts, and Ribbit apologizes and leaves Jax alone. Ribbit afterwards is now nowhere to be found, with Jax constantly coming up to her door and just staring at it, until we see that Ribbit has abstracted. Next time we see Jax at Ribbit's door, it's marked with an X. Kaufman, trying to comfort Jax, is then met with the same response.
We were friends, but I know you two were especially close. Just, if you need anyone to talk to.
Do I look like I need someone to talk to?
Jax not caring in the slightest, putting on that same facade. And after that, we reach the timeline of the pilot. We see Jax's reaction to Kaufman abstracting, events of episode 6, episode 7, reminding Jax of that day on the snowy mountain, and then it cuts. Pomni wakes up in this dark void. Turning around, she sees Jax turned away from her, with a lamp beating this red light. This scene alone is why I wanted to make this video. I can't put into words how heartbreaking this scene is to me. We see Jack's self-degrading comments, but the thing I notice about this scene is specifically what Jack says.
Why are you here? You know everything now. So why are you here? Just to rub every mistake I've ever made in my face? I'm a terrible person. Is that what you want me to say? I already know I am. So why does anybody still care about me? You're not supposed to care. You're not supposed to miss me. You're not supposed to love me. This isn't how this is supposed to go. Please. Leave me alone. You're making this so much harder.
Jax, as a character, is the result of closing yourself in, not learning to open up. Jax is the story of a victim who rejects the idea of opening up and through that becomes the victimizer. Jax is so scared of having that feeling of being vulnerable that even when Jax is surrounded by supportive people who want to help them, Jax denies that opportunity. And Jax knows this. We see Jax still trying to cling onto that response of shutting out the idea to be vulnerable, to be heard. Jax understands that while they're gone through so much, they've also shut themselves off completely. And yet despite everything that Jax has done, Pomni moves closer. And something that breaks me is that the way Jax's voice slowly breaks down the closer she gets. Jax is so caught up in use of this coping technique that Jax doesn't understand why Pomni is still pursuing them. She runs faster pushes harder, and this is where Jax's facade really breaks, being very spiteful and angry before their voice becomes so soft that Jax can't even yell anymore. Jax isn't a good person, but they are a great character. Jax is a concept of someone who ignores their feelings, repressing yourself, refusing to open up, refusing to seek help for yourself, a victim who becomes the abuser by this mental isolation, refusing to forgive yourself. And the thing is, Jax never got the happy ending. Jax didn't find a way out. They did it unabstract, because that's not how it works in the real world. Jax can't fix what they've done, but the fact is, despite everything, there are still people who went out of their way to forgive them. Pomni, after everything she saw, still ran to them, and even though there was nothing to do to save Jax, at least Jax got that closure that there were people who actually cared. Jax's story is something that I feel is really personal and something that people can learn from, learning that being vulnerable and opening up isn't a sign of weakness. And even though I'm late to all of this, yes, it is a very obvious point that Jax is trans, specifically trans femme. If you notice that I wasn't using he, him pronouns when talking about Jax, then you can probably understand why. Obviously dealing with their identity for most of their life, and when they finally realize their identity, they grow up in a house that does not support Jax's real identity, with the constant pressure of having to stick up and be a man of the house. And then to really rub it in, when Jax enters the digital circus, their avatar is portrayed as a mostly male-described rabbit. It really hurts to see, especially in this scene where I believe Pomni gets uncomfortable because of the crew mentioning Jax using he, him pronouns. I only really believe this because Pomni gets uncomfortable as soon as they say it, and the amount of times the phrases he and him are used in this scene.
I hope it's enough to keep him contained.
He should be calm in there. Darkness is soothing to them.
He better be. You know how many arms I had to go through to get him in there.
So that's why I say Jax isn't a good person. With the constant harassment and abuse as seen by characters like Gangle, who basically is terrified of Jax, Jax is a great character. A character that the result of being vulnerable seen as a sign of weakness, shutting yourself out when you're screaming for help. You don't end up solving the problem. You just push it down, and it grows and festers more and more, pushing everyone away until it's too late to fix it. After Caine returns, he prepares a showing and he shows everyone and the real life people their brain scans of, with each of them learning that they've made marks in the world, that they became successful, that they became independent, even if none of them know each other in real life. And once that's over, we see everyone changing the circus as their home, a real home, as we see the world expand more, and it all ends with Pomni looking up and giving a wave before walking off. And that's the end. I think I've already talked enough about this, and I hope you can see the theme as much as I did in this episode. And a lot of this episode in particular was accepting things even in tough times. And all of that was a lot of forgiveness shown with Caine and Jax. They've made their peace with everything that has happened and are ready to move on. I feel like it's something we can use a lot in the real world, being a lot more empathetically understanding and giving the chance to forgive the circumstances, forgive others and forgive ourselves for shortcomings, for mistakes, and sometimes even the very hard conversation that need to happen enable for forgiveness to step foot. There's a lot to learn and appreciate from this series. It's definitely going to be one I think of fondly, and I'm glad I got to enjoy this experience that was the Amazing Digital Circus. I'm gonna miss it, like I'm sure all of you will. Anyway, thank you all so much for reaching to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and hey, if you want to support me and my journey as a content creator, artist, and whatever else I do, then please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can change your mind at any time. So thanks again for watching. I hope you've learned a few things or just enjoyed my view on this episode. My name is Communist B, despite my name not means a communist, and I am